California's Gold is produced in association with KCET Los Angeles and is seen statewide on California Public Television.
Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell. Welcome to the world-famous Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. Now I say world-famous because this place is not only the home for the Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra, it's also been the site on numerous occasions for the Academy Award ceremonies. We're here tonight for the season opener of the Los Angeles Opera, and standing here amongst all these beautiful people and all this glitz and glitter, it kind of makes you wonder what theater used to be like in California. What kind of theater did those very first pioneers attend? And what kind of shows did they see when they went there? Well, in our never-ending quest for historical truth, that's what we're going to do on this adventure. We're going in search of California's very first theater. And if you're curious as to where it's located and what kind of theater it was, well, as always, you're invited to come on along with us. I promise you won't have to get dressed up for this one. Just come on along with us as we continue our search together for California's gold.
Our quest to find California's first theater first took us to one of the oldest and most beautiful cities in our state. Monterey is steeped in history, and it seemed only logical that this would be the location of California's first theater.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Huell.
I'm Shirley Jolliffe, guide with Monterey State Historic Park.
Well, you know why we're here. Have you heard?
I've heard you're looking for California's first theater, and you have found it. It's right here.
Well, I have a feeling this is it. It says it right here, California's first theater, State Historic Monument. Visitors welcome. That's us.
That's you.
And you've got it up on the side of the building there, California's first theater.
It is.
Now, how do we know that?
Well, we know that in the spring of 1848, we had some soldiers here, Colonel Stevenson's volunteers, and they gave performances here at this building.
In?
The spring of 1848, and they charged money to see these performances as well.
Good, so we know it was professional, money-charging theater.
$5 a head to see these plays.
Now that was a lot of money.
That is, about $100 today.
You're kidding.
No.
And they had people come see them?
They did, at least for a while, until news spread that the gold was found in the Sierra Nevadas, and I'm sure their audience dwindled away.
Went looking for gold.
That's it.
All right, we're looking for gold inside. Can you take us in there?
Certainly.
This is a great old building with a little door. You have to bend over when you go in. Okay, we're inside, and what a wonderful looking place this is.
Isn't it wonderful? Let me introduce you to Steve Harris. He's a docent with Monterey State Historic Park and knows an awful lot about this building.
That's what we're looking for the first theater.
Well, we are here, Huell.
And
thank you, Shirley.
Shirley's already assured us that this is it.
This is it. There is no mistaking that.
Now, was this the theater in here?
No, sir. This was built first by Jack Swan in around 1845 and 6 as a saloon and a bakery.
Ah, there's the saloon right over there.
Absolutely. And the soldiers who were stationed out here at that time were from the East Coast during the Mexican War, and they weren't used to Mexican cooking, which was all what the native population had. Jack Swan was an Englishman and had spent considerable time on the East Coast, so he decided to provide the soldiers and sailors here with the type of cuisine to which they had become accustomed in their youth.
So this would have been the hangout room. There's the fireplace over there. This would have been the place that the soldiers would have come at night to, would they have played chess?
Well, quite possibly, or checkers, or cards, and possibly had a cocktail as well, or at least a little Navy grog. And
this place kind of looks, it's got a really nice look to it. Yeah. But this wasn't the theater. Where was the theater?
Well, the theater is in this room here, Huell.
Another little door.
Yes, very
They're all
small
short,
door.
aren't they? Ah, there's the stage.
There's the stage right up here.
Now, how did this all come about?
Well, Jack Swan in 1847 built this adobe portion onto the original freestanding wood portion as a rooming house for sailors or whoever. And it was built as 4 apartments with partitions that could be swung up and secured to the ceiling during the daytime, so it created a large common area. And then the hooks released at night, so they swung down and divided each up into 4 apartments, each with a front door, a window, a back door, a window, and a fireplace.
So this was 4 different apartments during the day, during the night. In the day, it was one big room.
Exactly. And so when the Mexican War was over and the soldiers out here who were volunteers with Colonel J.D. Stevenson's regiment had to get back home, their paychecks had stopped because they were volunteers, not regular army. And so they had not been involved in any military engagements, the nearest being way over in Natividad. And coming from New York, they were very familiar with the theater, and they'd been putting on little entertainments to keep themselves amused. So they got the idea of prevailing on Jack Swan, the owner here, to let them do a play for pay so they could raise money to get back home to New York, and that's exactly what happened.
So they opened up the partitions and made this one big room. Can we go up here?
Sure.
They went. What did they do? Is this the stage that was?
No, the original stage would have been a portable stage because when the show was over, somebody had to sleep in that apartment, so they'd take it out.
Oh, and here's one of the partitions.
This is right. This is the one that remains. And
so this would just come down during the day, at night.
Just swing straight down. Gravity would hold it in place. And then they swung it up in the daytime. Now, the curious thing is that during the first show in the spring of 1848, which was called Putnam, the Iron Son of 76, they used this as the curtain. And they put a block and tackle pulleys on it. And
opened up the curtain.
Up it went, and the play went on, and then down it came, and they changed the sets.
And they had a portable stage here instead of this stage that's here right now.
This was put in 1937 by the state.
Well, it's got an old look to it.
Well,
Can we step up on the stage?
Please do.
Because this would give you the idea. The soldiers would be performing up here on a temporary stage.
Exactly.
Would they have had lights with candles or something?
Candles or whale oil. That was all that was available.
And how good actors were they? They were soldiers.
Well, they were good enough that they filled the house to capacity the first night. 100 seats were sold.
Shirley told us out front that they charged $5 a ticket.
The equivalent of $5. There wasn't much American money out here. It was probably Spanish doubloons.
But that's a lot of money.
It was a lot of money, but remember, it was the only game in town.
So people who were here in Monterey in 1848 were starved for entertainment.
Correct.
For theater, for anything that would entertain them at night.
Basically, the only other things they had were the dances, the fandangos, and the entertainments that were connected with the church.
And this out here would have been filled with people. I know you told me that the place used to be full of benches instead of these tables and chairs.
Well, the benches came in 1937. Originally, it was just a compacted earth floor.
Would they have sat on the floor?
No, they sat on kegs, either nail kegs or gunpowder kegs with planks on top of them, and all the way back.
Really?
And filled it up.
Would they have been dramas? Would they have been
They
comedies?
were the equivalent. They had both elements of comedy and drama. They were generally a little overwritten, what we call melodramas. But they...
Was there music involved?
Oh, absolutely. They had an orchestra pit that they dug here. And they had the musicians from the Army were playing.
Now, Steve, this building was a theater back in 1848. Has it always been used as a theater?
No, sir. It has been used periodically as a theater, but it's also been a naval storehouse. It's been a saloon, a pie shop. It's been a tea room. It's been a bookstore. You name it, at one time or another, it's been it. And it was almost washed away Jack Swan lost it in the 1880s, and by the time the state of California took it over in 1906, it was in dismal condition.
Really?
Absolutely.
Now, what did the state of California do with it in 1906?
Well, they did a lot of restoration work, and then they found concessionaires to take over the building. One of my favorites is over here, Huell, just to show you the diversity of what was going on.
Here's a picture of the building.
Absolutely, yeah. This is probably back in the 20s, and if you notice, there's a Japanese-style torii gate, and then suspended from that is the advertising sign, which advertises waffles and tamales. Now, there's a combination for you.
So that's what the state did to raise money
Yes.
and to use this building in the 1920s.
And to preserve it, yes.
Wow, well,
Just
thank
keep it
goodness they
going.
did,
Uh-huh.
because this is all the original stuff, isn't it? I mean,
Yes,
this is,
basically. Yeah.
This is the building.
That is, and it's probably the oldest originally freestanding wood structure left in California.
Well, I'll tell you, I know you people up here in Monterey take these old buildings for granted, but
Oh, we love them.
what a
though.
treasure it is.
Absolutely.
And the key to all of this is that not only was it a theater in 1848, but it is still a theater today.
Every weekend since 1937.
And we're going to be back in a couple of hours to develop that story, because it's just 5 o'clock in the afternoon right now. 8 o'clock tonight, the action takes place.
Begins all over again, and we'll look forward to seeing you then, Huell.
See you at 8 o'clock.
Thanks so much.
Okay, time has passed. We're backstage. The actors are getting ready for the big performance. Come on, let's go in the big room with the other actors. This is the ladies' dressing room in here. And look at everybody in here. We meet again.
Well, welcome back, Huell.
Well,
Yes.
this
little
is
more
the
intimate.
ensemble.
Indeed it is.
Tell us a little bit about the history of this group that is performing here now.
Well, these are the Troupers of the Gold Coast, which were first formed in June of 1937 and have been led valiantly by our producer-director, Laverne Seaman, over here for many, many years. We won't say how many. And they've been in continuous performance every weekend since 1937 and are indeed the oldest theater company in continuous performance in the world.
Really?
Indeed.
Now let's get everybody together so we can see the cast. What kind of plays have you been performing?
We do all the plays of the period in which the theater was built and was first used for a performing playhouse. And those are British and American plays written between 1850 and 1900.
So you could actually be performing plays that at one time were seen on that stage originally.
Indeed.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Welcome to California's first theater, a state historical monument. Tonight, for your edification and entertainment, the Troupers of the Gold Coast proudly present their 542nd production, entitled The Road to Frisco, a classic melodrama set in the western states in the mid-1800s, featuring, among others, a hero, a heroine, and not one, not two, but three, count 'em, three mean, dastardly, low-life villains. And one of those villains is a villainess.
Well, I've never seen anything like it. It was an evening to remember, as the Troupers of the Gold Coast kept us all thoroughly entertained. In addition to the period melodrama, which brought forth loud applause, hisses, and boos at all the right places, there were sing-alongs during the intermissions. We had a lot of fun, and of course the actors gave it their all. And in so doing, continued the proud tradition of California's first theater. Oh, but there's controversy, because it turns out California has two first theaters. That's right, two. And to visit our state's second first theater, we next travel to old Sacramento. Well, as we continue our adventure in search of California's
first theater, we have now come to Old Sacramento on this beautiful afternoon. And Bob, you're with State Parks.
Yes, I am.
There's a little bit of controversy here, isn't there?
Well, there's not too much controversy. As you've just come from Monterey, you understand that there was a performance put on in Monterey in 1847. But in that building had been used for something else. This is California's first theater. This was the first building constructed to be a theater in all of California.
The first building built to be a theater.
Correct.
And a fine little structure it is,
Yes,
too.
it was. They were quite proud of it in 1849.
What was it? What was the old Eagle Theater made of? It looks like a tent.
Well, that's exactly what it was. They used what they had available to them. And of course, in 1849, people were coming up the river from San Francisco, unloading and heading right to the gold fields. They'd get up there and they'd find out that there really wasn't a lot of gold up there. They'd trickle back down. Some of those people coming back down were carpenters. Carpenters began doing what they did best back home. And there was a lot of ships laying out here that weren't necessarily derelict, but they weren't necessarily in good shape either. So people found it easier to cut them up and make buildings out of them. The Eagle was one example of that. They actually took a ship or several ships apart, cut it up, and built a wooden frame structure. And then with canvas, either from the sails themselves or probably stored underneath for extra canvas, they went ahead and strung it around the outside. They took tin and put it on the roof, and there they had a theater.
So this theater was appropriately made from the ship that would bring people here for the gold rush.
Exactly. It's a completely recycled building.
Now, what date was this?
It was begun in July of 1849, and it opened to an audience packed in September of 1849.
And it didn't stay in existence very long, did it?
No, it didn't. It was hard to find quality actors out here in California, and the weather at the time was not exactly the best. The theater inside was described as like living in a drum because the acoustics were so bad, and it was hot and sticky, and there was a dirt floor.
Boy, you're really making this sound attractive. I can't wait to get inside. Let's go inside. Now, here's some of the characters out here. Are y'all waiting to go in and see a play inside?
Yes, sir, we sure are. A long distance today to see that play.
I'm down from the hills.
Way down from the hills. So I got a
mighty hard ride.
a haircut, got new duds, and I want a French dancing woman tonight.
Well, here's a lady right over here. Are you waiting to go into the theater?
Oh, absolutely. We are so excited to have these performances. These players stop here in Sacramento City.
A little bit of culture in Sacramento.
I know. Can you believe it, sir?
And your escort is all dressed up in his finest
In his
tonight?
finest.
Just my finest. Even stopped and had a bath tonight.
So everybody smells good.
Oh, yeah,
Come on, Bob. Let's go inside and see what we got going on in here. Sounds like a rowdy bunch in here to me. Oh, boy. What have we gotten ourselves into here?
Just a standard night at the Eagle in the Round Tent Saloon.
Now, what would happen? There would be, it was attached to the saloon?
Originally, there stood a round tent, and that's what it was named for. And then they built the theater on the back of the tent, and eventually probably changed the round tent into this area, which is the bar room. Now, entertainment takes on many different guises in the gold rush. Drinking, other forms of entertainment, including stage theater.
Okay.
So if you'd like, we'll step on up to the bar, and I'll buy you one.
Okay.
Make room at the bar.
Okay, we're coming up to the bar.
Gentlemen, what do you have? Barkeep, a couple of your best whiskeys, please.
So whiskey was probably the drink of choice here.
It was not only the drink of choice. If you could get it unwatered, you were probably pretty lucky.
Well, this doesn't look like it's too watered down to me.
No, we put it out special for our television guests.
Okay, let me pay for this, okay?
Certainly.
Here you go.
Here, I'll pay for that.
What is this, sir? Not familiar with that kind of money. Don't you have any real money, any gold?
It's going to be on me.
Look at this, Louis.
It's going to be on me tonight, and normally we would go ahead and have dust, but I've got some nuggets if you'd like to drop them in the...
So they would have paid for their drinks with gold that they had found and brought down.
Certainly,
here.
and you were very careful about how you swept up your bar, too.
Now, how much is 2 shots of whiskey?
whatever on the scale, we're going to weigh the gold, and we have a weight in there that equates to the amount of money you're going to pay.
And not your thumb, barkeep, not your thumb.
So the bars would have all had scales to weigh the gold.
Exactly. It was, and they tended to hire the men with the biggest thumbs when they had to do the pinches of gold.
All right, let's have a toast here.
To California's gold.
All right, now.
Not too watered.
Yeah, we better let everybody know that was iced tea. All right, now we're moving over to this is the serious business over here.
Other part of the entertainment, we've got several of the folks. We've got this gentleman back here who's running some games.
Let's see what's happening. What are you all playing here tonight?
Well, I'm just new from the hills, and I don't know what this game is.
What is this game?
We're playing a card game called Pharaoh, one of the most popular games from the 1850s.
And what would be going on over here?
It looks like he's playing Sweat over there. It's a dice game.
Let's take a look in here, fellas, and see what's going on in here.
All right.
How you doing today?
We're playing Sweat, and I ain't doing too good.
You're not?
No, sir.
So you're losing more than you're winning.
This is Lucky Pierre. He never loses. That's what they tell me.
When it was time for the show or time to the end for the end of a break, they'd go ahead and ring a bell, and that would signal that it was time to go in.
And here's the guy with the bell. That means it's time. That means it's time for the show.
It's time for the show.
Now, the theater itself wasn't really that big, was it?
No, it wasn't. The theater was about 65 feet, 75 feet long, and it varies in width, probably about 26 feet. This theater is built on the original site. We're a little higher. This is a reconstruction of the original theater.
But it would have looked just about like this.
It would have looked just like this. They did have a balcony for the ladies who did not want to sit with the miners.
The ladies up there. So the fine ladies who were out here would have been segregated from these miners, even though most of these miners told us that they have taken a bath and got on some clean clothes just for this occasion.
There was only so much you could do with 300 people packed into this house. They actually had a ladder that would allow the ladies to climb up the outside and into the balcony, and they covered it with canvas so that there would be no modesty lost during the time period.
Gotcha. So they're the finer citizens up there. Here are all the miners down here. Everybody looks like they're getting ready to, a little bit of...
few of the businessmen of town, a few of the finer businnosmen have come in.
So it was an
also.
interesting mix of people coming in here. And look at this, you've got these great chandeliers going here. So the place had a nice feel to it.
It certainly did. It was warm, it was cozy, but best of all, it was the only game in town.
Wait a minute now, what's going to happen now? They're going to actually start the show.
Yes, they're going to begin the show, and what you're going to see is opening night, September 1849.
Gentlemen of Sacramento! And of course, the gracious ladies in the balcony. Welcome back once again to the Eagle Theater for the second half of tonight's entertainment. For your theatrical pleasure, Love in Humble Life by John Howard Payne.
Goodbye! Goodbye!
Won't you
stop here?
Goodbye.
Would you have me stay here after knowing what you've read? It is true. I love you, and you see that. So, cousin, goodbye!
Oh, my Bob, that was
awful. Out of the many plays produced in Sacramento, the one you just saw was only done 4 times before. You've just seen the 5th time.
Really?
Since 1849.
So you brought this out of the deepest, darkest catacombs.
Just for you.
Well, I think we need to get out of here and end this thing outside the theater, don't you?
All right, let's go.
Fellas, let's go on outside. Oh boy, what a performance this has been. But everybody seems fairly happy.
I think it's part of the early entertainment before we can bring them in.
Oh, you mean what happened out in front before the theater started?
It certainly did help and probably hinder in many cases too.
Well, here we are out front of the theater. I've got an exclusive interview with the 2 actors who just put this masterpiece on. Be honest with us. How bad was this? Not your acting, the script itself.
It was pretty much worse than anything I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Now, what do you mean pretty bad?
Well, the story wasn't very interesting, and the lines were pretty difficult and didn't make a whole lot of sense.
You feel the same way?
I feel the exact same way. In fact, we had discussions about trying to memorize and different things like that. It's
memorize a play that didn't have any meaning or lines that didn't make much sense.
Sure, yeah.
Bob, this has been something. What would have happened? What was early theater like in Sacramento, in Gold Rush country?
Well, it was pretty rough early on. There would have been vaudeville style. They would have done some Shakespeare at times, singers. They would have really just done excerpts of Shakespeare. They wouldn't have been able to do the whole plays.
But the point is, from those very early Gold Rush days, theater was here in California.
Theater was here and on this site in California, and we continue that tradition today. We have a resident theater company, Runaway Stage Productions, which does far better musical theater than you just saw.
This is open to the public when they come to Old Sacramento to go in and relive this.
Exactly. The theater, live theater on this site continues today. Wow. And the actors and actresses are a tradition that ties back to September of 1849 when California's first theater opened.
Boy, did we have fun on this adventure. And we discovered that whether it's on the historic stage in Monterey or Sacramento, both of California's first theaters continue a proud tradition and are fine examples of California's gold. Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed this adventure. If you'd like to see it again or share it with your family or friends, all you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.